The 6888 is a film you can watch on Netflix now from Tyler Perry. And I actually thought it was pretty good. I was surprised at this film. I saw that it was on there and I basically just said like, oh, this could be good. So I watched it and it was there's a lot of this film you will see in other films, but that's not a bad thing. I might as well talk a bit about Tyler Perry. I think this is the first time I've ever done a rant on anything by him. Tyler Perry's films, I mean, we all know about his Medea series and how that has gone on for a long time. I think, didn't they have one? I've actually lost count of how many Medea films there's been. Starting with Diary of a Mad Black Woman, which Medea is not the Mad Black Woman in that film, and you should watch that film if you haven't. It's actually very good. In fact, most of these films that he puts out are very good. And they are, I believe, for lack of a better term, family films, but also Christian films. They usually have a lot of Christian values in them. And they're probably the best Christian films out there, because if you've seen the Christian films that are out there now, they're pretty bad, and they're very preachy. I think they try, or at least Tyler Perry's films, they don't delve into the world of preachiness very well, because if so, Medea would probably repent at the end of every film. But Medea is a certain character that stays that way all the time, and it may not necessarily be an angel, but let me rephrase that. Isn't necessarily the devil, but isn't necessarily an angel either. I actually think that is what makes Medea work. And the fact it's played by somebody who's, basically a man playing a woman is, that's going to get into a whole territory, but honestly, Medea's funny, okay? I'm just going to say that, and the characters around her are also funny, like Joe and Brown and all those characters and stuff like that. I mean, I really liked Medea's big happy family, but then it gets into weird territories with stuff like Medea's witness protection. I'm kind of going like, okay, now Medea is practically a television series, and that was just a bad episode, and now we're kind of getting into like, oh man, okay. Tyler Perry. He decided to make this film about a black woman force, or I want to say regiment. I don't know if that's the correct word because I'm not really in the military. But essentially, it was an all-black woman, army team or something like that, maybe in the military in World War II. And I think that it was really great that he decided to tell this story, because it hadn't been really told before. I never heard about it at all. And it's one of those stories in history, like Apollo 13, where you see this something and you're going like, how come nobody's ever made a movie about this before? And I'm very glad Tyler Perry did this movie, because I think it's very eye-opening. Now, whenever you're watching a movie on a historical event, there's always something in the back of your mind that goes like, okay, I know that didn't happen that way. I know that didn't happen that way. I know that this is a movie and you're trying to make this more cinematic, so you have to have moments in this that feel like movie. I get it, okay? There's several moments in the 6888 that I can tell I wasn't certain, like, okay, did this really happen this way? I don't know. And hey, I mean, when we're getting into all kinds of stuff based on a true story, we're always going to hit that part where it's like, yeah, this didn't even remotely happen this way. And then we get into cases like, say, I don't know, The Blind Side, where you get into lawsuits about how inaccurate the depiction is and how defaming it makes like the main characters look. I mean, and it does look pretty bad. But in the case of the 6888, I think it honors the characters that it needs to honor. If you're not familiar with this thing, and I wasn't familiar with it, it's one of those films that talks about something as seemingly trivial as mail. Basically, what happened was soldiers in World War II were not getting the mail from their wives and their loved ones. And in the film, they show Eleanor Roosevelt hearing about this issue and doing something about it. And she talks with, how do you pronounce her name? Mary McLeod Bethune. I know I mispronounced that name. I'm very sorry. Played by Oprah Winfrey. Oh, by the way, Eleanor Roosevelt's played by Susan Sarandon. Tyler Perry's got some big Hollywood friends, so we can have him in this movie. They basically, these two women get together and they realize if they get the 6888 to get the mail to these allotted soldiers. And here's the thing, it's a joke assignment. It absolutely is. And the film makes no stretch about doing this, where the military is given assignments like, just give it to the 6888, we don't care about them anyway. And here's the thing, the 6888 actually does a smashing job. And I think that's kind of awesome. There's a scene in this film that I think I'm going to spoil because I think it's just really great, where one of the leader in command of this group just tells off her superior officer, because her superior officer comes in and just criticizes their work about getting their mail, and they just say and she just goes, "Over my dead body." And it's such a good scene because it just shows the frustration that they've been feeling over this, not only assignment that they were given, and just not even the respect they were given. They were given an area to live in that had no heat, absolutely no level of, they were not given any kind of, just the basic things you would need to do in order to get this job done, and they had to do it all on their own, and it was tough for them. And I like stories like this, where people have to overcome adversity like this. So this story, it has been done before several times, but or at least something like this. Not something on the 6888, which I have to admit I didn't know about. I think it's good that Tyler Perry put these people in the spotlight, and I'll applaud him for that. Now, that being said, I've looked online, and this film isn't getting that good reviews. It's getting 51% and stuff like that. I understand. This feels like a made-for-TV movie and stuff like that, but I think this film deserves a bit more respect than it's getting. And I'll support Tyler Perry and anyone else who was involved in this film, because they did a pretty good job in this film, and they were acting their heart out as far as what was going on at the time. And this is something that we don't really understand. For me, being a white American, I'm privileged, and this is a part of life I don't see. And I'd like to think that I'm experiencing, but I'm really not experiencing the worst of it. And these gals, they did get the worst of it. They were given a crappy assignment, and yet they still rose to the occasion and did it. And they did it in a way that was very unorthodox, but they still did it. And at the end of the film, it shows that they were given 6 months to do it, and they did it in about 90 days. And I think that's kind of awesome. And it shows that, hey, these people, just given the right opportunity, could make it work. I'm not sure what else I can really say about this film, because, this is one of those times where it's if I ever met anybody who served in the 6888, I would easily salute them, okay? Because, they did their duty, and, So, and I was surprised at the end to discover that there's definite things. There were military bases that are named after them and stuff like that, and these people deserve to have the recognition that they got. So, anyway, this is definitely a good, oftentimes when we hear about the Civil Rights Movement, we don't hear about what happened during World War II, but there was a lot of prejudice that was still on the rise during that time. It's nice to see that there was a group that basically stood up against that and just said, "Over my dead body." Anyway, so see the 6888 on Netflix right now if you haven't. This is Mark from the Geek Church, signing off.